If you're planning on taking a huge trip to go see a major wrestling show in the near future, before making these plans, check out WrestlingTravel.com. It's convenient. They organize the travel packages for you, and you get to hang out with other wrestling fans, meet wrestling personalities and stars, and have the entire travel experience taken care of for you. So if you're going to WrestleMania in Tampa next year, the Royal Rumble in Houston, All Out and StarCast, or even New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom, WrestlingTravel.com has a package for you. Check them out, click the link down below, and have a great trip. So tonight was a pretty crazy night in the world of combat sports. There was a Evolve live show on the WWE Network. There was a UFC show, UFC Fight Night, and there was AEW Fight for the Fallen, which was kind of a tribute show / charity show they had in Jacksonville for the victims of gun violence. AEW was able to raise $150,000 and donate it to the city, to the mayor, to help out victims and people who have been, who have had their lives altered by gun violence in the past. And I went ahead and saw the show. It was actually a free show on Bleacher Report Live, so you didn't have to pay for this one. The next pay-per-view, All Out, coming up at the end of August, which I will be going to. WrestlingTravel.com is the best way to get there, if they still have seats available. If not, you can still use them to book a flight and a hotel and a ticket. They do everything for you, for other shows. But I will be at AEW All Out, so if you see me there, come say hello. But anyways, that show will be on pay-per-view. But this show, I went ahead and watched it. And because I missed Fyter Fest, I actually missed that show, so I wanted to catch up on AEW. And the main event of this show was the Rhodes Brothers against the Young Bucks. And I was really looking forward to this match because it's such a unique match. You have Dustin Rhodes, who is a great, great wrestler, has been for 30 years. I've seen this guy since he first started back in the late 80s, early 90s. I was a little kid, of course, but I seen him kind of evolve through the days of WCW. Then he became Gold Dust, and his first real, the first time I ever actually saw him was in the feud with Ted DiBiase and Virgil back in 1990. Well, anyways, he's an old school wrestler, a great wrestler, and he's teaming up with Cody against the Young Bucks, who pretty much define the modern generation of wrestling, which is high, fast-paced, high-octane action. They've been accused of being spot monkeys before, and I think that for a time maybe they were, but they've really amped up their psychology, and I think they've gotten really good at creating these sort of crazy Dragon Gate style matches for a Western audience. But of course they worked in Japan as well. And if you remember at Double or Nothing, where the whole thing started, during that great emotional moment where Cody's like, I need an older brother, not a partner or whatever. And the match was really, really fun. It was cool because they were kind of toying with each other in a way, kind of messing with each other. The Rhodes were doing Young Bucks moves and vice versa. Dustin went out there and worked really, really hard. They all worked really, really hard. The show felt it didn't really feel like a house show, but it felt like a really good television special. It felt like a Clash of the Champions. It wasn't really as big as a pay-per-view, but not like a regular TV show. So it was fun to watch. And it also built up, for the future, because obviously the Young Bucks won the match. They sort of telegraphed it earlier in the show when the Lucha Brothers, Rey Fenix and Pentagon, challenged the Young Bucks to a ladder match at All Out. So it was okay, well, the Young Bucks pretty much have to win, right? So they did with the Meltzer driver, and then the show ended with them sort of doing this great little heartfelt speech about the violence and how they raised the money, and it was really, really cool to see that. It's a great way to close the show. Cody took a couple shots at WWE talking about counter-programming by having the Evolve show on the network, which I'm sure was a good show because Evolve does put on some good stuff. And there was an NXT, lots of NXT guys on that show in Philly. But overall, that main event was fun. Before that, they also did Kenny Omega against Shima. Shima, of course, legend in Japan. Tori Uman, Dragon Gate. Been watching this dude for years. Him and Kenny Omega tore the house down. Really enjoyed this match. Lots of great near falls. There was some crazy stuff on the outside with Shima as well. It actually when Shima kicked out of the V-trigger earlier in the match, I was shocked because I thought that was going to be it. And I thought the match was at perfect length. It wasn't too long. It wasn't drawn out. Nothing on this show felt too long. Everything felt, well-timed, well-executed, and it worked. And like I said, a lot of these matches were kind of done to build up All Out. Because you had Kenny Omega winning the match with the one-winged angel because he's going to be facing off against Jon Moxley at All Out, so you couldn't have him lose. And I like that about AEW is it's very logical booking. They don't do that WWE thing where it's, you win one, I win one, and then by the time the feud's over, nothing matters, and we just wasted our time. In AEW, there's clearly momentum going, building to a bigger match coming up at All Out. And if the TV show is structured like this, it could definitely work. In addition to that, they also had Hangman Page, who will be wrestling Chris Jericho for the first ever AEW championship, the first champion. He wrestled on this show. He went against Sabian, and it was another good match. And Sabian cut a great promo in the pre-show about how he felt like Hangman Page was getting, the rocket up his ass, so to speak, from AEW. He was like the chosen one, and he wanted to make a statement, and he certainly did. This was a brutal match, and then after the match was over, it looked like Hangman was getting attacked by a guy in a mask, but it was, of course, Chris Jericho. I mean, I kind of knew that because I've been watching wrestling for so long. The minute he got attacked and it was just one guy, it's Jericho. He unmasked, it was Jericho, who, by the way, also cut a great promo afterward. He's taking credit for the birth of AEW. He's taking credit for the fact they got on TNT and just really playing a great heel. And I do think he's going to be winning it all out. And he is a good first champion. You have him win, and you have a guy like Kenny Omega and some of the other guys chasing him. And, I do hope that we see more Hangman Page Jericho matches too after that one. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be any good. I assume it will be because Jericho can't really have a bad match. He's that damn good. But I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that. It was fun. In addition to that, they also had a Brandy Rhodes versus Allie match, which is great because they played it up like Brandy Rhodes is going to turn babyface, like, oh, I don't know if I can make it in the business, but I was born for this business. And then she has Awesome Kong come out as her big enforcer, and she winds up winning the match, of course, because Kong was out there doing her thing. And then Aja Kong came out. So they're teasing Awesome Kong versus Aja Kong dream match, which I think we're going to see at All Out. So that's another big match for that show. Really, really enjoyed that. They had the Lucha Brothers against SoCal Uncensored, SCU. This time it was Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. Another great match. Nothing bad to say about this one either. The Lucha Bros got a good win here over SoCal Uncensored, which is pretty much, they're a great threesome. I like those three guys a lot. Big pause on that, but I like all three of them. Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, Chris Daniels. These are like West Coast indie legends, you know what I'm saying, from years past. Well, really, they became legends in their own right after, touring the world and the United States and whatnot. Lucha Bros, of course, got the win. Then they challenged the Bucks to a ladder match right after. Then they had this really, in addition to that, they had the Dark Order, which is Evil Uno and Stu Grayson against Angelico and Jack Evans, and then a Boy and His Dinosaur, which is basically Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Really, really enjoying the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus team. I think this has potential to be a great, act for the company. So imagine Enzo and Cass, except way, way better wrestlers, more comedic gimmick, and just overall more quality. And obviously Jungle Boy is way less obnoxious, if you could even say that, than Enzo. I couldn't even stand Enzo Amore for a long time. I didn't understand. The guy was a catchphrase wrestler. He had no talent at all, in my opinion. Sorry, but he doesn't have any talent. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus is like the big man, little man thing done right. And it works. And whenever it happens, whether it be in wrestling or in other forms of media, it always makes me smile. Vegeta and Nappa, Majin Buu and Babidi. And I'm using Dragon Ball because some of you guys came over from my other channel. Whenever you have a big guy and a little guy, and the little guy's bossing the big guy around, it's always a fun thing to see. Like the old cartoons. That's a good thing. Then they had the opening match of the main show. MJF, Sammy Guevara, and Sean Spears against Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc, and Joey Janela. All six of these guys pretty much round out the mid-card of AEW. Speaking of Dragon Ball, big shout out to Sammy Guevara, my boy. So happy to see him here in this company getting the spotlight. Seen the dude wrestle in Mexico before, and he had so much potential. He's also a YouTuber as well, and a supporter of Geekdom 101. We've talked before. And I might do something with him at some point. I know he's really busy right now, but hopefully we'll get something done, an interview or something. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But Sammy came out with some Dragon Ball gear, but I think the gear of the night goes to the former Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears. He's got a chairman shirt, sort of like the La Parka thing, because if you heard or if you saw, he cracked Cody's skull at the last show, and it was controversial as hell, but none of that in this show. And so now I'm guessing that's the feud going forward is Shawn Spears and Cody. Another big match for All Out if they decide to do it. So I like how AEW is structuring their feuds. We've got 4 or 5 big feuds going into All Out. And it's, again, it's all done with their YouTube channel and with these shows and, Twitter and whatnot. And it works. I mean, it's all working out pretty well. I'm not sure how credible Adam Hangman Page will be as a contender to the mainstream audience. AEW has a lot of hardcore fans, like 80%, 90% hardcore wrestling fans, but they want that mainstream audience. The thing is, how many mainstream wrestling fans really know Adam Hangman Page? The ones that are coming over from WWE. They might not know, which is why it's important to do matches like the one he had with Kip Sabian earlier in the show. It's a good idea to do that. And then they had a few matches on the undercard. Sonny Kiss against Peter Avalon. Peter Avalon, of course, big West Coast guy. Sonny Kiss is a big East Coast guy, wrestling in the New York market. And Bea Priestley and Shoko Nakajima against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rio. Women's showcase match. I think it worked effectively, even though I do wish it was on the main show. But the reason why I didn't put it on the main show is because they wanted to have the Brandy Rhodes and Alley match to build up that Aja Kong and Awesome Kong matchup, which is going to be a huge match. I mean, the women, that's a huge women's match, both in girth of the actual ladies in the match, as well as how important it is for the hardcore fan. So I enjoyed AEW Fight for the Fallen. Really liked the show. I had a good time watching it. And again, if this is how the TV is going to be, I'm going to like it. Keep everything logical. Shima, that's how you pronounce it, losing to Kenny Omega did not hurt him at all. Like, it didn't hurt him whatsoever. Neither did, Adam Page beating Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian is still, a contender. He's still a guy who has great promo ability, great in-ring ability. So it's one of those things where guys losing in wrestling does not mean it's the end. Everybody loses at some point in life. You're not going to win everything, unless you're Floyd Mayweather. You're going to lose at some point. And it's okay to lose, because if it's booked correctly, you'll still look good. And wrestling needs proper wins and losses. You don't have to go back and forth every single freaking time like WWE has done for so long, that even Steven booking. AEW is doing things right, and I like that. They have a direction, they have an idea, and they're going to go for it. So, good show. I'm guessing the archive's going to be up for free on Bleacher Report, so you can go watch it whenever you want. But I don't know that for certain. I do not know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure it will be. So it's worth watching. It was a fun show. Thanks for watching this. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this show and AEW's future. And boy, this is going to get really interesting in October when they go head-to-head. Well, not literally head-to-head. WWE's not going to actually go head-to-head with them in October, but they will have television, so it's going to bring a whole new audience to AEW. Let's see how it pans out. And then WWE's going to have Fox, which will bring them a new audience, possibly. We'll see. Thanks again, and I'll talk to y'all soon.